Climbers, you have an enemy, and this enemy desperately wants to keep you from writing that next song. It's called The Resistance, and we're going to talk about it today. All right, Johnny, do your thing.
Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Leverage is what you're going to need to make it happen in the new music industry. You have to prove that your art has value. You can't be waiting as a diamond in the rough to be plucked out of obscurity and made into some kind of songwriting star or artist superstar. You're going to have to start doing it yourself. That's the bad news. The good news is you don't need anybody's permission. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a backsynonym for my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Got a couple number ones in the last couple of years on Southern Gospel, so he's still making miracles happen. And you can, what I love about Brent is if you're a songwriter, he reveals how to write like a pro songwriter, how to do business like a pro songwriter, and then on the regular, he gets you connected to the pros so that you can take that next step and start to monetize your songwriting. You can get with Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but thankfully, Johnny's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams or blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other. Johnny D, what's up, my brother?
How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling attacked and under siege by a hidden enemy, and I want to kick his butt, and I want to help Climbers kick its butt too. So, but really, I'm good.
I love it. Well, before we get into that, let's take care of some business first.
Yes.
We want you to join the Climb community at Facebook. We have to ask to be let in, but we let everybody in. It's just a little step that we go through. Make sure you know the rules, where to put stuff. But this is singers, songwriters, indie artists, indie musicians getting together, supporting one another. There's a lot of co-writes that have been created out of this community. There's a lot of promotion questions and cool stuff that's been happening that's come out of this community. And you need to be in it too, man. We like to talk about everything, like your wins, your gigs, all that stuff. Just got to do it in the right space. We let you color on the walls, but you got to pick the right room, right, to color in. So we got any wins that we want to talk about this week?
Oh, we sure do. Let's see here. We got a lot of comments. So let me just pull up all the comments here. So yeah, every Wednesday in the Climb community, we post the new heights. And so this is where we encourage you to share your wins for the week so we can celebrate with you. Simple as that. Let's see here. Tracy Paw says it's a biggie small, but I've noticed growth in my writing based on feedback and song reviews, less about structure and rhyme scheme, but there's still a ways to go. And more about connectivity and progressing the storyline by taking less obvious avenues. I'll take that as a small victory. Thanks, Brent Baxter. Well, you're welcome, Tracy. So yes, she's been in a lot of song feedbacks, and so I've been diving into her songs with her, which is fun. Let's see. Heather Carter, Climber, says, more co-write setup for this month than I've ever had. Also made some big connections that will be good to have. Getting better at guitar, which not being able to play has set me back more than anything. All great things. So good job, Heather. Way to stick at it with that guitar stuff and making those connections, getting those co-writes set up. And last one for this, definitely not the last win we have under this section, but Sunday Joe Graham says, one of my songs was selected for consideration for the NSAI Publisher Luncheon. Winning. And of course, man, all those have comments under
SJ.
That's great. So all those have comments under where other climbers are jumping on, saying congratulations and just carrying forward a conversation. A lot of those Facebook groups are just people spraying and praying, and they like drive-bys. They drop, here's a link to my song, and then you never hear from them. There's not much engagement. But I love seeing the new heights, and that's why we put it all in one spot, because people know to go there to see who's winning, to share their wins, and it's more conversation. And so that's what we love.
It's better this way.
It's better
for everybody. It really is. We thought of everything. I can promise you. I can promise you that. You know what I love about Sunny Joe is she is one of those climbers, and I feel this way about all climbers, but she's, one of those people that has become a climber, and it's kind of been our honor to watch her climb.
Yeah.
Like, she's climbed a lot, and I think because she graced us with her presence, we get to watch that
Mhm.
happen, you know what I mean? So, and hopefully in some small way, we've helped her with that, but, oh, man, that's really fun to watch that?
That is. And Johnny, on speaking of Sunday Joe and Patrick Adams and Brad Hacker and Chris Discarino, I need you to say vulgar display of prowess.
Let's get him drunk. Vulgar display of prowess, Sunday Joe.
That's right. So for those of y'all that don't know, you should be in the climb community to see this, but apparently they started a drinking game, or at least somebody suggested they started a drinking game. So every time Johnny says the aforementioned vulgar display of prowess, that they take a drink. So
Yeah. It's
yes,
better than a high bob party. And if you're young, you're not gonna get that, but there was the Bob Newhart show, and every 5 seconds, like, "Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob." Everybody say, "Hi, Bob."
hi Bob.
That used to be a drinking game in
That's
college.
funny.
All right, so make sure you subscribe or follow the podcast wherever you consume the podcast. Most importantly, tell a friend about it. If you're
Mhm.
spending this kind of time with us on a weekly basis, it's because you're getting something out of it. So don't be selfish, man.
Yeah,
If you don't share this, you're selfish. You need to
that's
share it
right.
because you're keeping all this good stuff to yourself and you don't want anybody else to know about it. Then that's not cool. You've got to give,
That's
give,
right.
give.
Don't be selfish. Be else-ish.
There you, there you go. All right. So how are we going to beat this monster here?
Yeah, so if you're a longtime climber, you know I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, and he spends the first chunk of that book shining light on the enemy of all creatives. So songwriters, novelists, painters, entrepreneurs, I mean, basically of any human that is wants to do something bigger and better and whatever. We all have an enemy. So we're going to dive into that today. And why is that? Because understanding the enemy will help us defeat it. And so this enemy is called the resistance.
Mm.
I'll whisper it again like Joe Biden. The resistance. The resistance. And so what? So I'm just going to read some sections from this book, and we can talk about it using kind of as jumping off points. But there's so much in this little book that will kick your butt and I think make you better. And I have no skin in this game other than I want you to win. So Stephen says, there's a secret that real writers know that wannabe writers don't. And the secret is this: it's not the writing part that's hard. What's hard is sitting down to write. What keeps us from sitting down is the resistance. So, what is the resistance? He goes, well, here's a list, no particular order, of the activities most commonly elicit the resistance. The pursuit of any calling in writing, painting, music, film, dance, or any creative art, however marginal or unconventional, right? Any pursuit. The launch of any entrepreneurial endeavor or enterprise for profit or otherwise. And so, climbers, you're doing both because if you want to be in the music business, music and business, so that's both of you, right? Any health or diet regimen, any program of spiritual development, any activity whose goal is tighter abdominals, that elicits a resistance. So basically, education, all this stuff, taking a principled stand in the face of adversity. In other words, any act that rejects immediate gratification in favor of long-term growth, health, or integrity. Or expressed another way, any act that derives from our higher nature instead of our lower nature. Any of these will elicit resistance. So, but
Mm-hmm.
okay, so that's how resistant it gets. You poke the bear when you say, I want to write a song. I want to get in the music business. I want to start a publishing company. I want to start I want to be an artist and sing on stage, all that stuff. That pokes the bear. Now, what is the bear like? Okay, so resistance, it's invisible, right? You can't see it. But you feel it. It's like the force, but it's like the dark side of the force,
Yeah.
and it's always there. It's internal. You might blame it on other people because the thing about resistance is it will make you want to play the victim. It will want to blame other people for why you can't sit down and write today, why you're, it's just, and other things. Like I got this big stack of laundry. My laundry is the enemy. Or I'm sleepy. I went out last night. Well, my sleepiness is in. No, it's inside you, and it never stops. Right? It is.
My junk email folder is calling me.
It is. Oh yeah. Let's say, how do you make? How do you get a songwriter to do the laundry? Tell them they need to write a song. You know. True. But it's funny because Pressfield, he likens the resistance to like the shark in Jaws, to the Terminator, to the Alien, right? Like it has one goal, and that is to end you. That is
Yeah.
all it lives for. You reduce it down to one cell, and that one cell is going to try and kill your calling, your higher purpose, your art. Like you cannot be reasoned with, it cannot be bribed, it cannot be talked out of it. Nothing is going to stop it. It has one mission, and that's to kill. And that's
Yeah.
how the resistance is with us. It takes no days off, but it can be beaten. And so that's why we want to talk about not
The
to get you to
resistance the
quit.
resistance is the resistance is so much more disciplined than we are.
Oh, it never takes a day off work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. He says, it's resistance is infallible, like a, magnetized needle. It's going to unfailingly point to true north, like meaning that calling or action at most wants to stop us from doing. Like it
Mhm.
will always try to stop us from what we're supposed to be doing. And it's universal though. That's the thing. I mean, hopefully like if you felt the resistance, like, why am I doing anything? Like I'm scrolling through my phone when I want to write. Like I want to practice my, guitar, or I want to do practice my vocal lessons or whatever. But here I am on TikTok still, or
Yeah.
scrolling through Twitter or whatever.
Yep.
Why? Right? I felt that. I feel that on a regular basis. Like, wow, I just killed 30 minutes on my phone and I could have done a song title challenge. Why is that? I want to do this, but yet I'm doing this other thing. That's the resistance. Okay? It's
Yep.
universal. It's not just you. It's not just me. It's everybody deals with it. So hopefully there's a little bit of, consolation in that, I guess, a little comfort in that, because that's the other thing. You know who else dealt with it? Rembrandt, Da Vinci, John Mayer, right? John
Yep.
Steinbeck, John Grisham, John Stamos, all these
Steve
Johns,
Jobs. Yeah. Like
Dwinell,
Mhm.
Steve Jobs, like all these people that created things. Whoever your favorite or least favorite quarterback is, all those they dealt with it too.
Mine are the same. My favorite and least favorite quarterback. Same
Uh,
guy.
same guy, depends on the day. So all those people have dealt with it as well. But you know what? Oh, they've apparently overcome it. Okay, that means it can be overcome. It can be battled, and you can win some days. You can win every
I
day.
think that's like straight up, that's the secret to getting past 95% of the mucky muck that you need to get past to be competitive in whatever it is that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
is the discipline to fight the resistance.
Yeah, it's showing up. Here are a couple things. This section, it says resistance is most powerful at the finish line. Like most, I think the resistance, and Pressfield talks about this, is responsible for so much misery in the world, because like an artist, because he's a novelist, so he wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, which ended up becoming a movie with Will Smith.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry. Anyway,
He deserves
so
it.
yeah, and he's written a
Don't ever
bunch of
stop.
books,
Not
and
old yet. Hasn't gotten old
it
yet.
it hadn't gotten old yet, so it never will be. But anyway, novelist, like he said, like, I almost killed myself, like literally, before I finished my first novel. Like you're 90% done with it, and it's amazing the things you will do to keep from finishing that novel.
Because
Like,
that's nut cutting time, man.
it, mhm,
That's where it's time to publish and actually find out.
exactly. And so he
Let the
talks about
world
resistance
wait.
being the most powerful at the finish line. It's like,
Oof.
I will let you get little 5-yard dink and dunks every now and again, but when you get close to the goal line, I'm bringing in the heavy hitters, and I'm going to do
Yeah.
whatever I can. And
The
he
onslaught.
exactly. So it's greatest when the finish line is in sight, because the resistance knows we're about to beat it. So it hits a panic button, it marshals one last assault, and slams us with everything it's got. So the professional must be alert for this counterattack. You want to be wary at the end, so you don't want to you can't let up your guard. You got to be, that like, step on their throat, like in, Karate Kid, finish him.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got
Right.
you got to have that killer instinct as a professional to say, I'm going to finish. I'm going to ship, as Seth Godin would say. I'm going to put this out in the world. I'm going to finish this novel. I'm going to finish this song. Like it's so close. It has one rewrite probably away. Why have you not gone back to it yet? Oh,
Yep.
all I got to do is lay down the work tape. I'll get around to that. That's the
Uh-huh.
resistance beating you, right? Like it's so close. Or I have my song, and I'm ready to start, recording it. Why haven't I just booked a day yet? Oh, I got somebody that wants to write with me. Oh, they mentioned like we should get together and write. Yeah. Why have I not made that phone call? That's the resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It knows that you're close to the finish line. It's going to do whatever it can to stop you. And I thought this was really interesting. It said resistance recruits allies. So it says resistance by definition is self-sabotage, but there's a parallel peril that must also be guarded against, and that is sabotage by others. When a writer begins to overcome her resistance, in other words, when she actually starts to write, she may find that those close to her begin acting strangely. They may become moody or sullen. They may get sick. They may accuse the awakening writer of changing or not being the person she was. The closer these people are to the awakening writer, the more bizarrely they may act and the more emotion they will put behind their actions. They're trying to sabotage her. Now, the reason is that they are struggling also, consciously or unconsciously, against their own resistance. The awakening writer's success becomes a reproach to them. If she can beat those demons, why can't they? So often couples or close friends or even entire families kind of entered into this unconscious compact whereby each individual pledges, again, unconsciously, to remain mired in the same slog in which she and all her cronies have become so comfortable. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The highest treason a crab can commit is to leap for the rim of the bucket. Have you ever seen that? The thing about crabs
Mm-hmm.
in the bucket? So, Climber, if you haven't seen this, they don't have to put lids on the tops of these buckets where, like, these people that are like crab fishermen or whatever get these crabs and they throw them in the bucket. You don't have to put a lid on the bucket. Why not? Crabs are good climbers. They can crawl right out. No. When one starts to make it up to the top, the other crabs will grab it and pull it back down.
Yep.
So, yeah, we all have
Fascinating.
we all have bucket crabs in our lives. So the awakening artist must be ruthless, not only with herself, but with others. Like once you make your break, you can't turn around for your buddy who catches his trouser leg on the barbed wire. The best thing you can do for that friend, and he'd tell you this himself if he really was your friend, is to get over that wall and keep going. So the best thing and the only thing that one artist can do for another really is to serve as an example and inspiration. So,
You remember the Snoop Dogg Gap
oh yes, that's a great one.
conversation? I think of this and and looking at it through the Pressfield lens,
Mm-hmm.
it's with that last thing that you just stated where you're saying, if they get snagged in the barbed wire, you don't go back and help them. You have to get over the wall.
You help them by inspiring and
Right.
showing the way.
Yeah. And then if they're supposed to get over the wall or if they want to get over the wall,
Because ultimately it's their choice.
it's their choice. They will get over the wall
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll be there to
Yeah.
share in the spoils. You know
Heck
what I
yeah.
mean? Because they're not going to let the gap happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to decrease the gap by rising up as opposed to pulling you down.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
how many times have we seen that, right? Where you have not one but like two or more worthy individuals who
Mm-hmm.
are intentional about their craftsmanship
Mm-hmm.
and willing to fight the resistance, right?
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, one goes over the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and then that rising tide raises all the ships.
Yeah.
And who are they going to write with? The homies, the people that the people that you love. Where did Cole Swindell come from? And everybody's like, oh, well, it must be nice to be Cole Swindell because he was, frat buddies with
Yeah.
Luke Bryan. Yeah. Yeah. Still had to be a good writer and an artist too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Still had to really want it because there was a bunch of other frat guys that are not
that were probably
doing
like,
what Cole's doing.
yeah, they were probably like, hey, I play guitar and sing some at the at the house parties and stuff. Hey, Luke, yeah, but you don't have the goods. You don't have
Yeah.
the work ethic. I can't
Yep.
just make it. Well, that was that Snoop Dogg thing, right? You can't make
Mhm.
people stars.
Yeah. 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 I can't. And he's tried, spent millions. I
Hmm.
can't make you into something that you're not. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
you have to want to be that really bad, more than for the sake of being it. But you have to want to be that because there's nothing else, right? Like
Hmm.
you'll. I think writers have to write and artists have to be artists, or they climb
Yeah.
a tower with a gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they can't not do it.
Well, I think one of Pressfield's points is sometimes they will climb the tower with the gun to get out of doing their art. The resistance
Yeah.
will, the book goes into all these different ways that the resistance will, I don't know, it comes out sideways. We squash our creativity, what we're supposed to do, our writing, and it comes out sideways. We'll do all these things to avoid it. So one thing we do is get ourselves into trouble because it's a cheap way to get attention. Trouble is
Mhm.
a faux form of fame. If you can't be famous, be infamous, right? How many artists, writers, singers, whatever, performers, I mean, they're train wrecks. Why? Well,
Mhm.
it's a cheap form of fame, is to be infamous. So it's easier to get busted in the bedroom with, the faculty chairman's wife than it is to finish that dissertation on the metaphysics of Motley and the novellas of Joseph Conrad, right? In other words, it's easier to get in trouble with your wife, with your family, sleeping with some dude's girlfriend than it is to finish that album.
Yep.
But yet you get to feel a little bit famous, hometown famous at least, right? And
Mhm.
because ill health is a form of trouble, as are alcoholism and drug addiction, proneness to accidents, all neuroses, including compulsive screwing up, which seemingly benign foibles such as jealousy, chronic lateness, and all that kind of stuff. Anything that draws attention to ourselves through pain-free or artificial means is a manifestation of resistance.
Mm.
I'm drawing attention to myself, but the cheap way, right? I'm screwing up, all this stuff. It's a way of hiding. It's a way of giving in to the resistance. It's cruelty
It's
to.
a get this, check me on this. It's a
Mhm.
protection racket.
Mhm. Yeah. Instead of
It's
doing
a
the work,
protection racket.
the things we will do to avoid doing the work.
Mhm.
Just do the
To
freaking work.
avoid really what it's so funny the dichotomy of that, isn't it, Brent? Like
We
we
make it so hard
aspire
on ourselves.
to be well, but like even at a higher level, right? It's
Mhm.
like yes, why are we so hard on ourselves? But it's like you aspire to be this songwriter or aspire to be this artist,
Mhm.
which is in order to and the good ones
Mhm.
know, the competitive know that you in order to do that, you really have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then at the end, the protection racket comes in, the resistance comes in to avoid doing what? Being vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Yeah, and we do so much to keep ourselves from doing the work. So like the whole trouble thing, it just, what are you doing that, oh, now I've got this other stuff to deal with, all this drama. Pressel talks about the professional artist will not tolerate trouble in her life because she knows that trouble prevents her from doing her work. So the working artist banishes from her world all sources of trouble. She harnesses the urge for trouble and transforms it into her work. In other words,
Mhm.
I'm not, how many of us are bad relationships? Well, not me. I'm thankful I'm in a good one. But how many of us have been in bad relationships just because all the drama, like almost drawn to it? Why so much drama? Well, because, you can focus on the drama instead of on your work.
Mhm.
Like how, going out drinking too much. I'm hungover. I can't really write today. Oh, that's convenient.
Mhm.
Or I'm having too much fun. Well, it's convenient too. Like, so
Yep.
I would encourage writers to like, okay, take stock. What's preventing me from writing? What am I doing instead of this? And take a hard look at those things. Or some of those things just, yeah, protection racket. Is it a way to avoid doing the hard thing? Which is a
Mhm.
thing that we'll end up feeling so much better about if we actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's save you the suspense. The thing why do you manifest the protection racket?
Mhm.
Because you're scared of being vulnerable. Why are you scared of being vulnerable? Because you're scared of being judged. Why are you scared of being judged? Because you're afraid they're not going to like it. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? Guess what? At the beginning, nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does. Like, you suck at the beginning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody sucks at the beginning. You know,
Yeah.
John and Paul, man. You know, first 50 songs
Mm-hmm.
were horrible.
Yeah.
First 50 Beatles songs, horrible. You never heard them. They were never recorded. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
they were horrible.
They were willing
And
to do the work.
they figured out how to. Oh, this is how you do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I got it. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I understand how this works now. Okay, but the only way out is through. You know, you
Yeah.
can't. So
There's
you
no way
got to
around it.
eat. You cannot. It is impossible to succeed without failure.
Right. Yeah. They
So
come
you have
together.
to eat the failure for breakfast.
Uh-huh. What is that? Failure for breakfast is success for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it might be success or failure for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you'll have eventually like dinner next week will be success,
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only way. Yeah. The only way out is through.
That's right.
And victimhood, the resistance is going to lie to you and tell you you can't do it because you're not in the good old boys club. You can't do it because you look different. You can't do it because you have this challenge or that challenge or whatever it is. You're not a good singer, Brent. You don't know anyone in the business, Brent. You don't, like all this stuff, right? It's going
Mm-hmm.
to lie to you. It wants to make you a victim and feel like you're a victim because that's an out. That's an excuse. That lets you off the hook. Because why? Victims don't have to change. The
Yep.
victimizer is the one that should change, right? But if I'm the
And the
victim, I don't
person
have to
you're
change.
and the person you're hearing that from is a victim. It's another victim.
Yeah. I
Here's
mean,
why you can't make it.
yeah.
Oh, so we can be friends, right? Now
Well,
we can
there's
keep that
that.
gap close, and
Hmm.
this is what we can do. But if I let you go over that wall,
You're taking my excuses with you.
yeah, exactly. That's it. You're taking my excuses with you.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And I don't want that.
So
I'm pretty
don't
comfortable.
do
We've
it.
gotten
You can
cozy.
think about it, but don't do it.
Yeah. Well, that's if it comes from other people, right? But it comes
Yeah.
from ourselves too. Telling ourselves
Yeah.
that, we're victimizing ourselves by calling ourselves victims. Everyone has a hard road. But
Mhm.
if you let yourself focus on that victimhood mentality and why they aren't going to let you, just what does that do? It lets you off the hook. Again, victims don't have to change. The victimizer is the one that should change, right? Because that way
Mhm.
I'm morally on the high ground. I'm good. I don't have to change. It's you keeping me down. You need to change for me to have success.
Mhm.
Oh, how convenient. And those are people and just conveniently, coincidentally, I don't have power to change other people. Huh. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do then.
Yeah, there you go.
Back
Yeah.
back to the couch. Right? Time to crawl
It
back
would have
into
been
bed.
great if the industry just would have changed. But,
Exactly.
somehow the industry has done really fricking well without you,
Hmm.
and will continue to do so. So, I don't think
Yeah.
they need to change.
Hmm. Oh, let's see here. What else? Resistance and being a star. I think this is interesting. So, grandiose fantasies are a symptom of resistance. They're the sign of an amateur. The professional has learned that success, like happiness, comes as a byproduct of work. The professional concentrates on the work and allows rewards to come or not come, whatever they like.
Mhm.
So, it could be
It's not a destination.
right. Success is
It's a
the
journey.
journey.
Yeah.
So if you're like, well, I can't be an artist until, I can. I remember one time a guy told me he's like, I can play in front of like 50,000 people and that's cool, but man, I just can't get up for playing in front of like 10 people, kind of thing. I guess you're not an artist, you
Mhm.
know, or saying it has to be that before I can take a step, or I'm so worried about how do I get on the next Tim McGraw record that it defeats me from just writing the song today, or with that up and coming writer who may turn into something or whatever. No, it's like success comes from doing the work. You do the work today, you're successful today. Progress
Yeah.
is success. And so I think part of it is putting off that happiness. You won't be happy until you're, you know, on the next whoever, Taylor Swift record. or
Yeah.
whoever it is, Justin Bieber record. You're just not going to be happy till that happens. Well, good, because it knows it can break you. If that other stuff is beneath you, Resistance knows that it can break you. Because you got to
Yeah,
go
man.
through
I think about
those steps to get up to that.
Yeah, I was, so I was in Arizona this past week, and, this artist that I started working with, Josh Roy, uh, I'm hanging out with his manager, right?
Mhm.
And I was just he hadn't heard of the Left Sits podcast, you know?
Oh, yeah. By
So,
the way,
I
I
was
listened to
turning
that
him on
Dan
to
Huff episode. It was great.
oh, so good, right?
Mhm.
Dude, that was really cool, and guess what my favorite part of that was, by the way? Side note, what was my favorite part of that interview?
All the rock stuff, I'm sure. But what?
Well, he had he had at the end, he's talking about, like, where music should go, country music should go.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and tell us.
Let's bring back the 12-bar guitar solo.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
what it was. Yeah.
"Yes!
Yes.
Yes! That's it," you
But
know?
also, like, feel like there's room for that now because you don't have the bottleneck of radio. I think they talked about that too,
Well,
right?
yeah, but not for nothing. I mean, you wanna talk about a blue ocean in rock and in country? Where's the last artist that was promoted as a guitar god
Mhm.
or goddess?
Mhm.
I mean, there's none there,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you go to a Brad Paisley show, we said this before, if you go
Mhm.
to a
Keith
Keith Urban show,
Urban.
you're gonna be in presence of greatness and you know it on the
Mhm.
guitar, but they don't market him like that, and they don't why doesn't Brad Paisley and Keith Urban have a 12-bar guitar solo on every song? Like, look at this.
Yeah.
You already love me for my songs. Check
Right.
this out too. And then guess what? You're gonna have Gibson and Fender bowing down before your feet
Yeah. There's
because that sells guitars and everything. But
yeah.
anyway, yeah, I love that part of it. But I was turning him on. I was turning Dennis Petty is the manager's name. I was turning him on to all these like podcast episodes from Left Sits with managers,
Mhm.
and one of them is like germane to this conversation. I remember if it was I can't remember if it was um who was it? I think it was Peter. I can't remember who it was, but it was an industry executive guy, and he was
Okay.
talking about um, AC/DC.
Mhm.
So the first time that AC/DC flew to Europe, to England, they were supposed to open up for the guitar player from Free. I'm forgetting his name right now. Who on the flight over, they're going to go on tour with this guy. On the
Mhm.
flight over, that dude overdoses and dies.
Oh.
So close, yet so far away, right?
Yeah.
So they land, and then this guy was like feeling terrible. He's like, "Oh my god, let's just get him a gig," you know. So this is last minute shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They get him a gig, and he goes. They played 2 sets, and the first set they came out, and it was me, the sound guy, and like 4 people
Yeah.
in this venue. And he goes, "But they brought the show." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bon Scott had, Angus on the shoulders, and they were as far as you knew, they were playing in front of 50,000 people, you
Yeah.
know? It was he goes, and it was the most I just it was one of those rare moments where, in this crazy situation where nobody's there, I'm realizing I am in the presence of greatness, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is phenomenal, and the second set, like, those 4 dudes left after the first set, right? So it's a bigger tumbleweed now, but I don't know what the hell they did, Brent, but he said they the second set, the place was sold out. Like that, those guys just went and were like, "Holy crap, you gotta come down and see this. You gotta come." And then everybody was just like, "Pfft," and they converged on this thing. And he goes, and
Huh.
it was just like a riot on the second set, you know? So it's like that whole thing, like bring the craft, no matter
Mhm.
who's there. You don't know who you're gonna be in front of.
Yeah.
You don't know, what's gonna happen. Like it's there it is right there. And
Mhm.
that was AC/DC. They are not where they are today by mistake.
Right. That's awesome. That's a great story. Yeah. It's like you show up, you honor the craft,
Yeah.
you do the work. And
Yeah.
that's the same if you're a writer, if you're in the room with a newbie or you're in the room with Craig Wiseman or Shane
Yeah.
McAnally, whoever. Like if you are like, oh, I'm really going to bring it when I get in the room with Ashley Gorley. You're not going to get in the room with Ashley Gorley unless you bring it. You can't wait
Yeah.
till then to bring it because you're never going to bring it in the room. And for one thing, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have that gear if you've never hit that gear. So,
Yep.
hey, man, if you're waiting on Ashley Gorley, treat tomorrow's co-write with your fellow climber like they're Ashley Gorley, and bring it as best you can, just like that. And that's going to prepare you for one of these days. You know what? Maybe you're Ashley Gorley.
Yeah.
But you're never going to
Love it.
get there unless you treat it that way and honor that and do the work.
That's
So,
right.
which, avoid the part though where you throw up beforehand because you're so nervous. If you can,
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Another thing, just kind of in closing here, it talks about the resistance never goes away. Henry Fonda, who's a famous actor, Jane Fonda's dad, so he goes back a ways. He was still throwing up before doing like stage performances at 75 years old. Like he'd throw up before every show.
Yeah.
And so it never goes away. Cause again, resistance, it can be beaten, but it cannot be totally defeated and, killed off.
Yeah. Barbara Streisand
like,
always had stage fright. Always.
There you go. Jason, it's like Jason coming back for like how many movies in Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
Like you kill him, it's all right. He'll be right back in the next one, right? And
Where do you think the author came up with that idea? It's just thinking about the resistance. What does he look like? He's got a hockey mask.
Got a hockey mask. He lives to kill, and that's it. It can be beaten, but not slayed for the sequel. He'll be back for the sequel. Which when's the sequel? Tomorrow. It's like Friday the 14th, Saturday the Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th, Sunday the 15th. Like those are the sequels. Welcome to it. But the thing is, again, those people, all the artists you love, they face the same resistance, but it can be beaten. You can still do great work. It's just because it's there and it will never stop fighting doesn't mean it has to win. And
that is in fact the key. That is in fact the key to unlock the door that gets you to do enough work to become the craftsman that it's going to take to be competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And you can look at it this way. Hey, the resistance, I can beat it, but a lot of my competition won't. So thank you, resistance, for thinning the herd.
Yeah.
Right? Those other people that want to get on, whoever's next record. Well, a lot of them won't be here in 5 years. All right, great. There'll be another crew of, people, another, generation that wanted, but most of them will fade away too. I'm just going to keep at it.
Yep.
So resistance, your friend.
You got to look at it the right way.
Exactly. Good. They're all facing it too. I just have to outlast them. But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles. So it is a game changer of a book. I think on my next episode, I'm going to go into what the professional is. So we've kind of outlined what the resistance is. And I hope that you will take stock of like, okay, what's the resistance look like in my life? Like how does it manifest itself? And by the way, if you clean out some of those things, it'll pop its head up in another way. It's kind of like whack-a-mole that way. It'll take whatever form it needs to. So don't think like, oh, it shows up in this particular way. So if I cut that out, I'm good to go. No, it'll find another way, right? It's going to show up, but that's part of doing the work is keeping an eye on it. So hopefully this one will help you see what the resistance is, name it, so you can face it and realize it's not just you, it's everybody's part of it. It doesn't mean you're not a writer, it just means you're human. Right? It probably means more so you are a writer, because if you aren't a writer, that's not your thing. So the resistance doesn't really care if you go right, because there's this other thing it wants to keep you from doing. So he actually, this is really funny. Somewhere in this book, he talks about like, it always tries to keep you from going from a lower level to a higher level. So like if you're like working like Mother Teresa in Calcutta with the poor and the orphans and stuff, and you're working to feed, the starving people and all this stuff, and you're contemplating like leaving that to go get a career in telemarketing, the resistance has no problem with that.
Yep.
It'll be like, let me open the door for you. Can I pack your bags? Right?
Here's 500 opportunities for you that really are attractive.
Yeah, to go do telemarketing and maybe talk to people about their car extended warranty. Gosh. So, yeah, if there's resistance to doing that, that might actually be a sign that this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
If it always points to true north, wow, okay, there's that. If there's a door in front of me and it's locked, that means there's something on the other side of it. There's some way to
That's
think
right.
about it too. But anyway, I hope this is helpful for you. I think so in 2 weeks, my next episode, we'll talk about the qualities of the professional, which is a lot of fun to get into. It's from the same book here. So anyway, that's what I have for today.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. Make sure that you join the Climb community, subscribe to the podcast, follow the podcast, leave a rating and review. And tell us about it. This podcast is